Hello, Andrew here, running on beer. Welcome to another exciting episode. This is an illustrated reason why standard operating procedures and having them documented is really pretty important, especially if you're like me and seasons get busy. And I know other people, like on the brewtubers, one guy mentioned just this morning that I'm recording this that he's had track and field meets where I think he's an official or a coach, one or the other, every weekend for like months. And I sympathize with them because up until last weekend, I've had volleyball games and soccer games like twice every weekend, sometimes 3 times. I mean, there were times where it's like my wife had to split and take my daughter to volleyball and I had to take my son to soccer. Anywho, so I brewed this beer. It's Freezer Cleaner version 1. The name actually came from YVH Hops because they were like, you need to brew a freezer cleaner. And they were right. I have too many hops. And I need to deal with these partly because I kind of need my freezer back because I also use that same freezer to do natural cold fermentation just with a water bath and ice jugs. There's another story behind this. We had a problem with our freezer, or fridge and freezer in our house. I have 3 kids, so I mean, the fridge and freezer is really important. It also has a lot of food in it. So we had some issues. The freezer started freezing up. We were concerned that it was the end of its days, and it's close to 15 years, so it's getting around that time. And in a fit of holy fucking shit, we have to do something, I converted my Keyser from Keyser mode to freezer, and I've programmed all this shit with a Raspberry Pi, so I mean it's a homebrew setup. Definitely homebrew. I missed a few things. Getting it to freeze was really easy because, overriding is great, but I did a bad job at documenting. There's a trend with that. I did a bad job of documenting what I did to change that over. And in the process, of course, I had to pull my kegs out. So whatever happened, I replaced some temperature sensors in the freezer. Things seem like they're now better. Knock on wood. And everything's back up in the freezer. I converted my freezer back to a kegerator, Keyser. Went and reprogrammed stuff to the way I thought it was. I missed something because it kept freezing, and that was bad news. Well, sort of. So I froze my kegs. I thawed them out. Everything's fine. There were 3 beers in it. One was a 12% coconut pastry stout kind of thing. It was a fantasy brew from last year. It still tastes really good. I'm waiting for that keg to blow. Another one is a cherry brandy barrel aged wee heavy. It's not bad. It tastes a little sour. And then there was the freezer cleaner. Now, flashback to when I kegged it. I don't have any documented standard operating procedures, hence the reason I'm making this video. And I'm pretty sure I forgot to purge the keg before racking into it. That's bad news. Now, initially it was fine. The beer was a little dark. We could tell that there was some signs of oxidization. But I hopped the hell out of it, so you can't really tell. Well, oxidization works much slower in cold temperatures than it does warm temperatures. So when I pulled the kegs to use my Keyser as a freezer, it warmed up that keg to 60-something degrees. My basement's pretty chilly. I actually run a heater down here during the transition seasons, fall and spring, because of how cold it is down here. And I work in this room. So, anyway, this is the freezer cleaner. Now, it looks better on camera. It's brown. And it's like, it's a really shitty brown. I mean, it looks a lot better on camera than it does to me. I'll honestly, this looks like crap. Still a nice white head, and it's keeping its carbonation pretty well. Aroma-wise, I still get a lot of the citrus notes that I did initially. I mean, I use so many hops, you can't tell that this is oxidized, which is actually kind of cool. I mean, it actually smells great. I mean, I'm starting to get a touch of oxidization. I poured this about 5 minutes ago. So it's starting to warm up a little bit. I'm getting a touch of oxidization, that kind of wet cardboard kind of smell. But it's only a touch. Flavor-wise, it's still not too bad. There's a little bit of a sweetness there, which is probably an oxidization thing. I put a little bit of Munich malt in this because I like having a little bit of like a malt backbone to hold up an IPA. IPA is a hop showcase, but that doesn't mean no malt. And now I'm getting on that aftertaste, kind of this oxidized, like maybe a little bit of, it's sweet, like a sherry kind of. It's not good. This is about to get dumped. I decided, since I'm prepping for brew day out in the brewing area, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and do this, and then I'm gonna drain this keg and clean it. It sucks. This is probably like 4 or 6 cans of hops in here. There's a ton, but it's just, it doesn't meet my standards. I'm not going to drink it. I'm going to brew something else here soon. In fact, I'm going to brew probably 2 or 3 things here very soon. Just kind of hit a few things because I'm going to get an Oktoberfest, either a Marzen or a Fest beer going. But yes, documented standard operating procedures and following them. In fact, even probably like laminating them and then using like dry erase markers to just go through each time. Okay, getting ready to keg. Number 1, purge the fucking keg. That's pretty important. Number 2, purge the lines, etc. Go through all the steps in painstaking detail. Because, when you're doing this, heck, I'm pretty sure professional brewers do this, and they're doing this stuff like every day. This is their job. Like, I don't have standard operating procedures to do my work behind me because I do it every day. But yeah, for this, it's, especially when it's like, okay, it's been 6-8 weeks. It's probably been like 2 months since I brewed last. It's pretty easy to forget something. So yeah, the moral of this story, document your standard operating procedures. When you change them, make sure you update your documentation. And I'm not the first person to say this. I've heard others say it, but it's important. So with that, cheers, I guess. It's going to suck dumping this down the drain because I know what went into it, but I'll brew better beer. If you like this video, click like, subscribe. Cheers.